AskReddit by if it quacked like a duck. Lawyers, what's an law that isn't real that normal people insist exists? That commercial use of a photograph means selling the photograph. Commercial use means that there is an implied endorsement. You can take and sell photos of Eric Clapton all day long. Put that same photo in an advertisement for a certain guitar without a release and you can be sued. There is a big problem now with that on YouTube and Bitcoin. Probate attorney here. I've had many people ask me when the reading of the will is going to take place. I explain to them that only happens in movies. But one of these days I am going to have one, and hire a mysterious blonde wearing a veil to sit in the corner quietly. Then I'll tell everyone that she inherits everything. Provided, of course, that she must adopt the dissident's cute but troublemaking 6-year-old child no one knew about. Or she can spend the night in a haunted house. Her choice. There will now be a requirement for such a mysterious lady's presence at the reading of my will, written into my will. Along with a handful of burly yet solemn fellows, dressed in stereotypical G-man attire, complete with sunglasses and earpieces. One will be Russian, or at least able to fake the accent consistently, and should only be curtly acknowledged by the others. Every one of them should be entirely vague about how they knew me except from business, and the men should all refuse to acknowledge the presence of the veiled woman, and feign terror if compelled to look at her. I'm a lawyer. This is not a law that doesn't exist, but a law that is misunderstood. Typically, you can't just go get a restraining order against anybody. Most states have specific laws for who you can get restraining orders against, typically household members or former romantic interests. Usually, it's only in domestic violence cases or for victims of crimes. You can't just get a restraining order and comically use it to keep someone 100 feet away. In the United States, at least. My father, who is a lawyer, policemen cannot lie to you. This is false. They can and they do. Edit. There's so many replies that I cannot even find some of the ones I'd like to respond to, so I want to leave a general note for those who have asked for a reference. Frazier vs. Cupp is the Supreme Court ruling that affirmed the legality of deceptive interrogation tactics in 1969. The ruling is still active. I heard you were smuggling animals. What are you, a cop? Now, but here's one that bounces around legal advice every couple months. The age of majority in Mississippi is 21, so people say your parents control your life until then and you can't move out without permission until you are 21. The truth is that the law means they have an obligation to provide for you until you are 21. You can move out at 18 and not face any penalty or be forced to return. Although the age for Mississippi emancipation is officially 21, this only refers to emancipation from a parent's obligation to support their young adult financially. In Mississippi, individuals age 18 and older may vote, enter into legal contracts, take legal action against others and be sued for damages. Similarly, an individual age 18 or older who moves out of his parents' home is not considered a runaway in Mississippi and is not legally required to return to the family home. Deleted. People that think it's illegal to be videotaped in a public space. I saw someone on Nextdoor complaining about my reasonable right to privacy in a public place, when someone was shaming 20 people standing together waiting for takeout. Sorry, that's the opposite of how it works. An arrest isn't magically invalidated if the police don't redo your rights on the spot. There could be a whole thread of just misconceptions people have from watching cop TV. Miranda rights protect you from self-incrimination when being questioned by the police for a crime. It doesn't mean they have to Miranda you the second you get arrested. If you aren't questioned, then it doesn't apply. People also think it's illegal not to let them make a phone call after being arrested. Sovereign citizen stuff. I feel like enough folks have claimed to be sovereign citizens that it's become normal. But no, generally you can't declare yourself exempt from the laws in effect where you are. Just tossing in a link to this epic judicial survey and rejection. https://www.canlei.org/en/abqb/2012/2012abqb571/2012abqb571.html close bracket of the various sovereign citizen theories. Edit. Thanks for the golden amp, silver. Not quite on point. A lot of people don't understand that co-signing a loan means that you are on the hook for the loan as much as the other person. The car gets repoed and then they are shocked that their wages are getting garnished. Co-signing is not you saying you think your friend is a cool dude who is good for it. You are saying you will pay for it if they don't. And they want you on the hook because they think there is a good chance the main applicant is a deadbeat. Basically, don't co-sign shit for anybody. That's why I prefer the term guarantor. Because you guarantee that you'll pay if the other person can't. In California, it's not illegal to discuss your wages with your co-workers, despite what your boss might say. Edit. I'm a lawyer in California. I assume it's the same in the other 49 states, but don't want to speculate. It's actually illegal nationally for a company to retaliate for discussing wages. They typically just make up some other bullshit reason to fire you instead. As a former lawyer, UK, I lost count of the amount of people that thought jaywalking was a crime. Unless it's a road that specifically states no pedestrians or a motorway, no such offense exists here. Edit. To clarify, I am talking about it not being a crime in the UK, it may well be elsewhere, Australia, USA, Germany and others. Too much American media, it technically is a crime in America so people think it applies in other places. Deleted. Even though many people think so, there has actually never been a Danish law allowing you to beat up a Swede with a stick, if he should walk across the ice on Øresund during winter. But, even though the law has never existed, it doesn't mean it shouldn't. No jury would convict you. This isn't exactly what you're asking for, but I think it's valuable for people to know. You do not need to wait 24 hours to report someone as missing. I would hope not, since every cop drama I've ever watched says the first 48 hours are the most important. If someone has to wait 24 hours, they lost 24 hours of that 48. It's a law that exists but widely misunderstood is the concept of entrapment. If the police put a bait vehicle in a high crime area, that is not entrapment. If the police are watching a bar known to overserve to see if there are impaired drivers at the end of the night, that is not entrapment. Entrapment only occurs when a gov agent suggests committing a crime that you were not otherwise going to commit. The case that really set the court precedent for this was wild. FBI agents were badgering this farmer to buy porn for months, and finally he was like, sure, whatever, wham, jail time. I believe it was cleared, but damn, was that dirty. Edit. So, here, https://en.m.wiki.org/wiki/jacobson_v._united_states is the Wikipedia article on it. So the US Postal Service began a sting operation to catch people for trying to buy child pornography in 1985. I thought it was just normal porn, and when all porn was illegal, I was mistaken. They set the sting on him 3 times, and only in the 3rd time did he actually try to buy a magazine of porn of 11-14-year-olds. It was determined that this constituted entrapment, and was something of a landmark case because they ruled in his favor. Fighting words is not a defense to battery. It just means that the government can prosecute face-to-face insults likely to lead to a breach of the peace. Not to say that provocation defenses don't exist dependent on jurisdiction, but fighting words in the US refers to an exception to the First Amendment. https://www.oyes.org/cases/1940-1955/315 US 568. There was a big argument on Reddit the other day about whether spitting in someone's face is illegal. Hint: yes. It's specifically assault in almost all developed countries. Generally, however, there's nothing you can say to someone that justifies them hitting you. The guy who initiates the physical action, or reasonably construed immediate threat of, for example jerking your fist towards someone after threatening them, is the one who's broken the law, not the guy who called him whatever. A real, but widely misunderstood law is HIPAA. People think it protects you from literally any discussion of your health issues by anyone at all. Nope. Not even close. In the UK, it's not illegal to park on someone else's driveway. It's classified as trespassing, a civil offense, not criminal, which means the police can't do anything. This particularly surprises people, as many think that they have exclusive rights to the parking outside their house as well. What recourse do you have? You can go 10 over the speed limit. My dad thought this was true as he was new to the country and quickly found out by a speeding ticket that it was not. Edit: I'm now realizing that this may vary from state to state and county to county. For my case, South Florida generally tolerates 10 over but is still technically illegal. This comes from the margin of error of speed radars. They have a 5-mile margin of error normally, and thus people feel it's safe to go 5 over. If you're only going 5 over and get a ticket, you should contest it, and make sure to ask when the gun was last calibrated. I'm no lawyer, but I don't feel like most of the villains in Scooby-Doo committed any actual crime. I don't think it's against the law to put on a mask and scare some trespassers on your own property. What if there's an abandoned gold mine underneath it? In the UK, that it is illegal to drink under the age of 18. You can buy alcohol with a meal at 16, beer, wine, cider, and you are not breaking any laws if you give your child some alcohol in the privacy of your own home and they are over the age of 5. Edit: at 16 you have to be accompanied by an adult and it is paid for by the adult. Thanks Ukelisk. You can buy alcohol with a meal, but do restaurants have a final say as to whether or not they'll serve it? If you live together for X period of time, you're automatically legally married. There are different time periods for different purposes, and being common law doesn't always have the same effect as being married. So for example, your employer might give your partner spousal benefits after 1 year, but division of property laws might only apply after 3. And all of this varies from one place to another. Some places don't have division of property laws for common law spouses, for example. In the US, only 8 out of 50 states have any form of common law, and most of them require more than just cohabitation. You have to actually present yourself as a married couple. The sheer number of times I've heard someone say we're common law in Nick is absurd, considering NY abolished common law marriage in 1933. No laws against driving barefoot. Mandatory edition, in the US. In Germany, while appropriate footwear is not directly required, you can be found at fault if your choice of footwear or lack thereof leads to your inability to avert an accident. I'm not driving, I'm traveling. That one is incredibly hilarious when it's on video and shared. Officer, I'm not driving under the influence, I'm traveling. Edit: here's a live PD link of a similar situation. Season 2 live PD clip. It's not exactly the quote, but close to it. Also the stop was for license plate out. I didn't know I needed a driver's license and I'm traveling in my car. I'm not like driving, are both uttered. https://www.yahoo.com /watch $58MRQJTKVYC right square bracket open bracket https://www.youtube.com watch v equals 58MRQJTKVAK. Deleted. You should never tell a blind guy to watch out for a bus. I'm a law student and definitely self-defense. Even though the law exists, people in my country really think it's broader than it actually is. People tend to forget the proportional response part. Freedom of speech in my country. That's from watching too many Us movies. In Canada it's pretty common for people to parrot American laws as if they were their own. It's federal law in the US that a plainclothes or undercover police officer has to identify themselves as law enforcement if asked. No, it's not the law, and they can tell you whatever the fuck they want. I'm reminded of that Breaking Bad cold open where Badger gets arrested for selling product to an undercover officer because of this exact made up law lol. Brothel laws at universities. There are no laws stating that 3 or more women in one house constitutes a brothel. I've never heard of this before. In many countries escaping from prison is not an offense because the desire to be free is so inherent to humans that it needs to be respected. This is providing you don't commit another felony while escaping, like killing a guard. Edit, my first award ever. Many thanks. Germany is one of those countries. Driving with interior overhead car lights on is not illegal. And X200B. Edit, thanks for the gold, kind stranger. My first. I had an experience with this. Got pulled over as a very new driver, 16, because my interior lights were on. The car and I were so new to each other I didn't know all of the controls and I had just left a bright parking lot. No laws broken, but the cop told me he stopped me for suspicion of DUI because it's an indicator of impaired driving. It's indicative of lack of attention. They cannot arrest a husband and wife for the same crime. I got the worst fucking attorneys. That common civil liberty protections restrict individuals or organizations. Freedom of press, speech, due process, etc. only restrict the government. For example, most organizations can restrict your speech based on their internal policies. There are instances where an organization has to provide certain protections based on federal funding, i.e. schools implementing Title IX. That an undercover cop has to tell a target that they are undercover if they're asked. When will these people finally understand that this literally defies the purpose of undercover cops? In Germany, most people believe that if a product breaks within 2 years if purchased, the seller must repair or replace it for free. This stems from the law that basically says if you are sold a product that had a defect at the time of purchase, you have 2 years within which the seller must repair or replace. However, the buyer must prove the product was already faulty at purchase. Not a lawyer, but many people think that black belts in martial arts have to register their hands as deadly weapons. It pains me when people say this. You can tell who's lying their ass off when they say my hands are registered as a deadly weapon since I am a black belt in, insert martial art here. A joke taken too far. Not a lawyer, but unfair firings are oftentimes not illegal. People often assume that if they were treated unfairly at work, like getting fired for something trivial that someone else got away with, that some kind of law has been broken and that they have a strong case for suing. In most cases this is not true. There are only a very few reasons for firing that get a company in trouble. Firing for race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, or disability is illegal in all states. Firing for anything else varies from state to state. In many states this means you can be fired for a medical condition, your sexual orientation, tattoos, that stupid look on your face, your weight, etc., or just because I'm not attracted to you. Yup, put another way, discrimination is illegal. No, certain very specific kinds of discrimination are illegal, all the rest are totally okay. Freedom of speech and censorship laws do not apply on social media. If your comments or posts get deleted by an administrator, it is not infringing on your rights. Have you been arrested for your statements? Have you been prosecuted for saying something? If the answer is no, then chill out. Edit, Canada. If a trooper isn't wearing his hat when he writes you a ticket, it's automatically dismissed. Nope. He can be wearing a clown costume and have the same authority. I would argue that it would have more authority, because anybody who has the balls to write me a ticket while dressed as a clown is going to get a lot more respect out of me. Netherlands. Weed is legal. It is in fact not. Though it is technically illegal, there are places that can sell up to a certain amount. And they are not allowed to sell to tourists, which of course still happens all the time. I mean, it's a hassle to tell who is and isn't a tourist when you've got open borders, plus especially in Amsterdam, it would probably take down your profits. I am not a lawyer though, so I don't know the exact specifics of the laws around weed and other drugs. Generally speaking, they're illegal. I'm a lawyer, I'm just here to see the laws I don't know are fake. Also 90% of the time someone says First Amendment, they don't know anything about what they are talking about, and surprisingly the Jehovah's Witnesses are the leaders in a good chunk of First Am case law. Not a law, but how people believe the polygraph tells the truth. The polygraph cannot be used as evidence in court. Therefore, not science. Might as well use a Ouija board. Which is why you should always reject any offer, especially by police, to take one. All it does is give them ammo for the trial by media. When they go public and say, this guy failed the poly, the public usually automatically connects that with actual guilt. The legal limit for back in drunk driving, there is no such thing. The common refrain you hear, especially from media outlets that have no idea what the fuck they are talking about, is that there's a legal limit to the amount of alcohol you can safely have in your system and legally drive a car. No. Simply no. It doesn't exist. There is a statutorily established per limit in every state. This means that if you are driving and your back is over that limit, you are per se intoxicated and the state doesn't require any more evidence to convict you. But, if you are under that limit, you can still be convicted of drunk driving or driving while intoxicated. The state will have to provide additional evidence to do so. So, even though you've just had one or have a back under the legal limit, you can still get arrested and convicted of drunk driving, DUI, or whatever else your state calls it. Deleted. Lots of people seem to think that private businesses have to respect your freedom of speech.